Hello, welcome back to another movie review. I'm David. This is Ben.
Hi.
Uh, so we just got back from seeing Attack the Block. Now, I'm sure you probably haven't heard of this film. I hadn't even heard of it until today, till Ben said we got to go see this. So, what did you think?
I thought it was absolutely great. It's definitely one of my top five, maybe top three of the year for sure. Best thing I've seen in the theater in a long time.
Yeah, for me as well. I would say like I haven't seen as many movies as you did, but I'd say it's number one for me for the whole summer at least. Probably for the whole year. So, let's talk about like what they did right in this film. First off,
I think the one thing that we both agree on, well, we agree on most everything here, but I think that the main thing is the script was just really well done, like really well written. With a lot of consideration for characters, like the character building is just done in a really like clever way that doesn't assume too much of its audience. Um, and you learn about the characters in a very interesting way.
yeah, and it's not like we were talking about. It's not like something that's up front right away. They say, okay, these are your characters. Deal with them. It's only like the female lead, Sam. It's only her character that you get any exposition in at the beginning of the film, and the rest of the characters, like they're kind of developed over time, and things are revealed. Like their exposition is revealed, and then the main character Moses, like his exposition isn't until right before the climax.
Yeah, you don't know much about Moses at all except that he's kind of a badass, and all of the main characters except for, and even the female character, I think, like they all are very dimensional in the sense that they all have a certain understanding of the world at the beginning, and it changes dramatically through the course of the movie. And I just think that that is a good sign of a good character arc. Like, Moses, it starts out as kind of a hardened thug kid, and as you learn about him, you learn that he's really a sensitive person who has a real moral code and conscience, and ends up making having like a big redemption.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really great. Like, it's really great that you see that in a movie and that your characters have thought about that much.
Yeah, and some of the other things that I thought were really great about the film is about the script, especially, was the social metaphors that they used in the film. Like we're talking about the idea of xenophobia, because the film starts out with a mugging, and there's their five main characters and then the female, and the five characters are mug this woman who's like in her late 20s, early 30s or so, and that's how the movie opens. And later on in the film, like you find out like that they wouldn't have mugged her like if they knew like that she had lived in the same block as they do, because most of the film all takes place in this apartment block, and like they use the aliens also as this metaphor for xenophobia, um, and that comes up many times in the film, I think.
Yeah, I think the way that they built this world, like, and as I was telling David, I'm kind of ignorant about that part of the world. I mean, I know what's going on over there right now, but I think this movie just really delves into that in a really great like way of being really socially conscious and really like responsive to like people's reservations. And you have this group of thugs, and then you have this woman who's kind of an outsider. She lives there now, but she's kind of from a different cultural niche than they are. And so when they see her at first, they rob her, and they find out that she's their neighbor and that they live in the same area or building or whatever. And things change. That their understanding of the world changes. So this idea of the other, there's always an other for each character, and when they're all forced into a situation, a very typical thing happens in movies like this, that they become friends and they become forgiving of each other and understanding of each other. But one thing that doesn't change is that this other,
Yeah, aliens.
the aliens is really, there's a lot going on there, and I'm not sure. I think there's a lot of symbolism and metaphor in the way that those aliens are designed and built to typify and symbolize certain things.
Before we talk about the creature design, I want to touch though about the beginning where the one alien like crashes into this car, and right away like the five teenagers, they want to kill it, and they end up like chasing it down and then smashing its head in and killing it. And that action like brings these repercussions of all the consequences that happen in the film. And I think that's really interesting too because the alien is the ultimate other.
Mm-hmm.
And so they attack it right away, and then that brings the repercussions that come along.
Yeah, that's right. That's how this whole story gets started, and that's I think that's a very realistic reaction for those characters to have to this thing, because not only does it attack him,
Yeah.
it attacks Moses, but you know, so he wants to kill it for that reason, but just for the fact that it's different and it's ugly and it's scary, you know, they want to go track it down and kill it, and you know, that's just like any book in history that you read about,
Yeah.
you know, one culture, you know, integrating with another culture. That's the initial reaction most times. So I just think that that's a great way to get the ball rolling, and it just gets more interesting from there.
And so you want to talk about the creature design though also seems like a metaphor though too.
Yeah, well, they even say, like, you know, the creatures are. I don't want to say too much because I think that that's one of the most pleasant surprises in the movie, is when you see these things in their full, like full shots of them, you know.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that again, it segues into camera work, which we'll talk a little bit about in a second. But like, you know, they're described as being like pitch black creatures, and I just think that that's a really interesting idea. There's only certain parts of the anatomy that you can really even make out on these creatures.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's a really fascinating way of symbolizing the idea of the other, of not being something that you can understand at all. They make certain associations to it being like a monkey wolf or an ape wolf or something like that,
Yeah.
you know, and that doesn't even come close to really describing the things.
Yeah.
But I just think it's one of the most ingenious, like, fresh, new designs for an alien, let alone just a creature of any kind or monster of any kind that I've seen in a movie in forever.
And it fits so well with the story. Like a lot of movies, like if they have an alien, they want to make something that just looks crazy looking, and they just do it just to make it look crazy looking. Whereas this one, it fits so well with the story, and it fits so well with everything that happens in the film.
Yep, absolutely agree.
So yeah, no, let's talk about the photography, because that was one thing that I noticed right away. Because a lot of the transition shots were actually really interesting shots. A lot, because in the beginning of movies, like things move a little slower. So one way that they really drew me in though was with the photography.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite shots is towards the beginning, and it's not a shot of any of the like story action really, but it's actually behind the title credits, or the main credit like sequence, I guess.
Yeah.
That, you know, you see this alien drop and hit this car, and then a little bit of action happens, and then it pans up. There's two great tracking shots of like sky to the ground, and then back up to the sky, and you see these things as they're falling to Earth, and then Attack the Block comes up on the screen.
Yeah, that
and
part
from
was
that
cool.
from that moment, I knew I was gonna love the movie. I just knew it. There can't this movie cannot go too far wrong, having had that and like just incredibly brilliant little snippet of visual, you know. And from there, you know, that it just gets better and better. Like the way that all of the dialogue is shot is really clever. It's very crisp and clear. And then they go into, and this is probably and partially tied into the way that the movie is edited as well. Just the way that they slowly reveal what the creatures look like.
Mm-hmm.
And they shroud. You know, there's a whole scene in the hallway where it's filled with smoke, and you can just, that's one of the coolest looking parts, where you can just barely see these things as they're coming down the hall, and you can't really identify if it's human or if it's a monster. And they just do a lot of really great things with the visuals, for sure.
Yeah, this was probably the most well thought out film I've seen all year. And one thing we said, like I said right away after we came out of the film, was like Hollywood would never make a film like this.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Like I'm really glad that we get to that films like this can be imported here. And it was a little sad to me, like at the end where I looked around in the theater and there was maybe a dozen people in the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it pretty late. We saw it at 11 o'clock, but still, like, I would have been more excited if there were more people in the film.
Yeah, because we all were reacting to it. Everyone was reacting to the funny parts. And that's the other thing. This movie has some really, really funny stuff in it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, from the way it's pitched, I think, or with the way it's marketed, it kind of looks like it's going to be a Shaun of the Dead kind of thing, and it is to a point, but it's also something completely its own.
Yeah.
And it has Nick Frost in it, and Nick Frost and Simon Pegg produced it, I think, and maybe Edgar Wright, who did the Shaun of the Dead movies, and Hot Fuzz, and Paul. But I just think that this has its own language and its own style and everything, and the comedy is really great, and that's what the people were reacting to the most. I think was the funny parts. You hear people laughing a lot, and every once in a while you'd hear somebody be like, "Whoa!" Like when a creature pops up for the first time, and you see his teeth. You're just like, and everyone's kind of taken aback.
Well, and also too, like they use like shock elements, and then they use gore elements, and it was rare, but it was really timed well. It was perfect timing on all of those elements.
Yeah, and the violence was handled really well. Like not overkill. I could even gone for a little bit more, but I'm that kind of person. So.
Well, I think that's about it. But I would say if you're gonna see any film this movie or this summer, this year maybe, go see that. If you like comedy, if you like aliens, if you like great stories and great cinematography, this is the movie to see. And I'd go see it in the theater. If you can't get to see it in the theater, because here in the city, they only played at one theater. So, if you're in a smaller part of the country, like you're not able to see it, wait till it comes out on DVD. But this is one of the films that I know right away I'm buying this movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be good to watch it again. I'll be really excited to see it for a second time to kind of filter through, and that's to me the sign of a good, movie, even if it's an action comedy sci-fi thing, that you really are left thinking about, and that we could have a conversation like we did on the way back from the movie about what the significance of the story really is.
Yes.
So.
Well, thanks for watching.